on this computer. Welcome everybody to the May edition of Artist Think Tank. Happy Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I know it's like a really exciting month for a number of you because of new releases and exciting things that are happening. So one of the things that we wanted to do for this month's session was to talk to creatives and kind of explore your own processes. So tonight, we're actually going to be hosted by Joe, who's on the board for the Slants Foundation. He's also a bandmate of mine, but he's going to be leading the conversations with our artists to talk about the music. And I really want to encourage you to make this as interactive as a space as possible. So if you have questions, things you want to know from our artists, like how did you get that particular sound? What inspired you to write this line, etc. Like feel free to drop it in the chat box and Joe will pick that up. And then, we also have a number of artists in terms of the songs we're discussing that they're brand new, they're being nominated for awards and all kinds of other really great stuff. And again, we really encourage you to make this a really supportive community environment. So please check out those songs on Spotify, Apple Music, and so on, and vote for their records that are being nominated as well. So with that, I will hand it off to our host for the night, Joe.
I think host is it's an overstatement because I think I'm here to just pull information from each of you and then use it to do things in my bedroom. Well, that sounds weird. Okay, so anyways, this is probably the first think tank that we've done that actually I think feels like a think tank because it's like where people just like everybody gets to share ideas. Because normally it's great. We're doing like actual presentations. Simon and Bao and done some really incredible presentations, but in this case, I really want the conversation to be there, and it's so amazing that all of you are here to partake. We're going to start off with Jane, and congrats, Jane, on two of you have been nominated for the San Diego Music Award, but congratulations. Jane, if you would like to hop on and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and your music project.
Okay. My name is Jane. My project name is Surrija, and my latest project was released. I worked on it for about 8 years, a little bit at a time, because I had a bit of a just personal life things that pause between my third album and fourth album, and so the fourth album took a while to discover, kind of, and I think this is something that I'm sure we'll all get into as artists, where our sound will change and we change with it and we don't know where it's going. It's kind of leading. It really sort of led me. So it was a lot of listening and relearning myself after a little while. And so the album was made, and I didn't know it was going to be COVID. And of course, the project went out, and there was some really wonderful reviews, and I'm very grateful for them. I personally just am glad that it exists in the form that it does, and it's a new sound for me. It's basically electro pop, art pop, and the album itself. Am I talking about that, or am I talking about the new song?
You can talk about the album. I definitely want to hear about the album for sure.
Okay. So half the album was written about my father, and that's how I started writing. He and I just have had, a tumultuous relationship like many families do, and the other half I wrote according to these paintings by Picasso that were portraits of his past lovers, these muses of his, and these women behind this incredible artist. And the fact is that he was kind of an ass to these women, and so when I was learning about him, I was drawn to him and very, very, very kind of fascinated by his process of work. And but then I learned about these women, and then the perspective changed. I wanted to focus on them and bring them out of his shadow. And so the album for me is adding context to both art and the current just discussion of what it means to go back into history, look at what has happened, and use it to help me. And I didn't know that these were things that were the songs about my dad and songs about these women were connected. But it's funny how what we're drawn to when subconscious works in mysterious ways, and these women and learning their stories actually allowed me to heal myself. And so that's where the album landed, and it's a kind of a conversation in time. It's me having these conversations with these women, and so that is the album that is out, and it is has been nominated for Best Pop Album in San Diego Music Awards. And San Diego, because I kind of musically grew up there, and so I'm very much in touch with the folks down there, and so I think it was very kind of them to consider me for that. So that's my project.
That's awesome. And congratulations. And Simon's posting this in the chat. Please go and vote for this album, Best Pop Album, San Diego Music Awards. Yeah, so that's incredible. So how did you actually, were you reading a lot about Picasso, or how did you actually find your way to that side of the story?
So I'm one of those that I can't write while I perform, and when I'm performing, it's a chunk of the year that I'm just going on the road or traveling, and so I had set aside some time to write, and I just was like, I'm gonna pick a place to go and write and lock myself in a studio, and I picked Barcelona, and so like um, worked really hard, saved up some money, and went and rented a keyboard and locked myself in the room basically for 2 or 3 weeks. And so when you're in Barcelona, you kind of can't escape Picasso. He's kind of everywhere. So I, like everyone else, you fall in love with the artist that kind of is the staple for the city. And for Barcelona, it was Gaudi and Picasso. And so slowly I started reading about him, and then I had this portrait that I was like, oh, this is really pretty, let me read about who this is. And then I read about all these women that were abused, battered, thrown away, and etc. So yeah.
So the song that you're planning on sharing is How Do I? And yeah, so what was the inspiration behind the song?
So How Do I is the one song out of the entire batch that sounds like itself, like in terms of the production of it. I never want to strong arm a song into something it doesn't belong in, and so when we were producing this song with my team, we thought, I don't think this song wants to be an electro pop thing, and so the rest of the group are on the album, and this was kind of the lone one. And I thought, well, let's see what I will do with it. Who knows? And I ended up releasing it for the 1-year birthday of the album, and it's going to be on the vinyl to kind of be a part of the group, so which is nice. And so How Do I is about I think it came from these women, but again, it's very much about myself, and I would dare say my Asian American self. That there's so much of the time I don't know how to say so much, and in my family, there's so much unsaid that is the loudest, right? And this particular scenario is about a romantic relationship and just not knowing how to say the things that ought to matter. Yeah, that's all.
That's great. Yeah. So did you said you collaborate with other musicians for the album, and in this case, when you said that you didn't want it to be that particular sound, there's still other musicians working on this. What was that creative process like, or the collaborative process like?
So I have a co-writer that I found, and this is my friend Albert Chang. He is a thinker, and he's sort of has been songwriting for so long with other people. He's always sort of the ghostwriter with them, and a co-writer with them. And so I was very lucky to have found him, and we sort of, with each other's help and permission and support, really found our kind of top velocity of songwriting. I think as songwriters, we sort of, when we sit down and write something, sometimes we hope to get to that place where things are just spilling out, you know. That doesn't always happen, and especially when someone's in the room, sometimes it can be hard when you don't know the person. And something about our chemical makeup both together just really allowed us to go there together. And so I wrote it with him, and some incredible musicians are on the album, one of whom is a hero of mine, this drummer for Tori Amos, Ed Sheeran, Fiona Apple, John Bryant. So it's just his name is Matt Chamberlain, and I just kind of cold emailed him with support of a friend. He was like, you want Matt, right? And I said, well, yeah, but I'm not gonna get him. He's like, no, you should just email him. He just wants to play, and it's so true. And he is a beast and such a child in a way. He just loves to react to music. So we would sit and listen to the track, and then he'll turn and look at me and go, so what do you think? What do you want? And I said, you know what? I want you on it, right? And so it was more about letting him just react a number of times on it and seeing what we collect. And he was very kind to say, yeah, you can chop up and stuff and all this stuff and put together something if you want. And so that he's not on this song, but he is definitely on the album. And this album, the song itself is just guitars. And so it was my guitarist and one of the producers who were on it, James and Max.
Did you make conscious decisions on that? Did you actually have like Matt listen to the song and try to like jam on it a little bit, or was it pretty much decided?
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't ever felt like a drum thing. This song comes from my very kind of singer-songwriter style, and so I don't want to make it into something it's not. So yeah.
Gotcha. Is there anything else you want to share with us about the song before we play it?
No, just have fun and play it. It's cool.
Roll it, Simon.
Oh.
Waited for your crown to nowhere, 3 hours gone flying. Strangers asking where you are, gone hiding. Hold on and hold it in. Walking with you, sweet in the cold. Finally and always time alone. Supposed to hold on, follow along. Supposed to know what to do. Protecting the time's gone ticking, and we gotta stay steady, steady and just patch it up. What can I say? How can I? What can I say? How do I? Green love, cover up. I'm good at it. Locked it up. The fire's long dead. The smoke here, I can't breathe out. Oh, I keep it in. But waiting for you, a crown of nowhere. 5 hours gone flying. Strangers knowing where you are, gone hiding. Should I take a shift? Suppose I could. Or is it better yet to keep the show going misunderstood? Protecting the time's gone ticking. We gotta stay steady, steady. I don't fuck it up. What can I say? How can I? What can I say? How do I? How can I say? Suppose I could.
That was beautiful. There's a great music video of this where it's you performing in the camera on your YouTube page, and yeah, it's bare, it's beautiful. I love the backing vocals, it just blends right in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I actually have a bunch of questions I want to ask you, but maybe I'll ask you later because I know you have a heart out in a little bit, and also Jason and Alan have a time constricted too. But so thank you so much, Shane, for being here. Please go and vote for the album at the San Diego Music Awards. Simon just sent the link again, and best of luck with the awards.
Thank you so much.
Woo! All right, Jason Chu and Alan Z.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
What's up, guys? How's it going? So, I know you two are both musicians on your own, established musicians. How did your project come about, this collaboration?
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead, Alan.
It kind of came about like last summer. Me and Jason were just talking about like what was going on with our community, just all the rampant rise, the anti-Asian hate crimes, and we saw the pattern of the conversation being like of this. The way they were framing it was like, oh, this is so new. I can't believe this is happening, and that was something that was bothering us. On top of the actual, the violence and racism. And we wanted to explore like a different side to this, which is the historical side of like how the anti-Asian racism came to be. And so it all really came from like a phone call, and then we kind of, manifested this into a whole project, which obviously like the Slants Foundation helped us with. And it just became this beautiful project that like, a lot of people from our community like contributed to, like from Ronnie Chang to Dante Bosco to Asia Raphael, Ruby Ibarra. And it's like a dream passion project for us.
Yeah. So it came out of these conversations, and I feel like so much of this project is really the sum of our careers so far. Alan's been doing hip hop in Atlanta for a long time. I've been out here in Los Angeles and doing a lot of Asian American college touring and community work. And I feel like this is the kind of project that you can't come out with no background. You know what I'm saying? This isn't something that you can speak on. Face value is, like Alan said, 15 tracks of really Asian American history and tying it to what's going on today. And you have to have a certain amount of credibility. You have to have a certain amount of, this is something I've talked about before on Slants Foundation, artist think tanks, is you have to have a certain branding credibility to do this. Otherwise people are going to see you and be like, who the fuck are these people to tell us like the story? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like because of the career that Alan's had, because of the career that I've had, we were able to tap in with these features, with these guests, with Slants Foundation, with Uprisers, with Haters of Iris, with all these different orgs, to push it out there in a way that made it feel like a community effort, made it be sort of this project that is valid and verified. And I think that that's been a process not only of the last year of working on music and working on recording, but also of the last 10 years of building community and building our own brands and our own artist like profiles.
So from like, long time knowing each other, collaborating with other people, how much of this album came from the past versus how much of it was developed specifically over this last year?
I feel like it was like half and half, because there's obviously content that was very relevant that we felt like we had to tap into like currently, but there was also like songs that like, I know for me, I've wanted to write my entire life. Like our first single with Dante Bosco is called Modern Minority. And I had an idea to write a song about the modern minority, like when I was in college. I just never had the right words and the right production to do it. So like, and some of these subjects that we cover on the album is like stuff that I know me and Jason have been ruminating about it like for so long, just in terms of like just our, not even musical past, but just like our educational background and, ethnic studies and, historical studies. So I feel like it is kind of like a culmination of like everything we've been through in terms of our identity as musicians and as Asian Americans.
Did y'all produce it by yourselves, or did you have other producers involved?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is true for Alan too. I don't produce. I don't make beats. I don't make music. just because that was a conscious choice. There's been a conscious choice to focus my skills development elsewhere. You know, I've focused on branding, I've focused on booking, I've focused on like, you know, just growing as a voice, but very much like my whole career has been about working with teams. So for this one, we got an incredible roster of Asian American producers. We got Chops, the legendary Chops from Mountain Brothers. You know, the first Asian American group to be signed to a label in the 90s, the first Asian American rap group. We got our friend Mio, who's a Japanese Taiwanese woman in New York, who produced a bunch of fire. We got our boy Supatai. And we got, who else is on there, Alan? There's
We got Macro Hard and
that's right.
And they're known for like producing for people like Joji, Ted Park, Marshall from in a K-pop Marshall XYZ. I forgot how to say his name, but yeah, he's like a K-pop dude that's pretty well known.
Yeah, so for this one, a lot of the collaboration was through like working with good producers, listening through beats and all that. Which, you know, I mean, if there's musicians listening right now, or if there's anybody tapping in afterwards listening to this stream, I think it's so important to know what your strengths are. And then this is advice that a mentor gave me a long time ago: know your strengths and manage around your weaknesses. Don't think you got to like do every piece of it. Because that sounds great, but then what happens often, and this is not for everyone, what happens often is that if you're trying to be great at everything, you're going to be mediocre at everything. You know, like I know what I do well, Alan knows what he does well, and we've found an incredible team of producers and an incredible engineer to bring that to completion, you know?
Cool. Can you let us know a little bit about the song Foreigner that we're going to be playing?
Yeah, so it actually like, we had like the idea sitting around because we had this list of like, you know, Asian American history topics we wanted to cover. But I had originally like wrote like the hook for Foreigner, like for my album. It was for my solo album, but I brought it to Jason. I was like, I think this may fit. And I was like, there's only one condition for me giving the song away to this album. Like I have to still remain on the hook. Like otherwise I'm not giving this away. So that's how it started, but we built it into what you heard now, you know, like with our verses on it. And I guess a little background about it is just, you know, like the frustration of like the conditional belonging, you know, as Asian Americans in Western lands. Like no matter what you do, no matter how, you know, whatever you try to prove, someone's gonna, you know, like assume you're from like China or Japan and say like super microaggressive things or just blatantly racist things, right? And never validate like who you are as an American. So that's where the inspiration for Foreigner came from.
Yeah, and to touch on it also, I think what was the biggest challenge on this album in terms of writing it, at least, was striking that balance between something that is grounded in history and consciousness without being preachy or without being a TED Talk. You know, I think that there's this pretty earned stereotype that artists who are socially conscious or artists who are social impact artists are only that, you know. But obviously Alan and I, both being hip hop artists, we grew up listening to a lot of Black artists who referenced Black history, Black music, Black culture in ways that taught the audience and informed the audience without being pigeonholed. You know what I'm saying? Like Tupac was super duper about like Black radical history, but then Tupac could also make, you know, a Dear Mama or a Hit 'Em Up, or, you know, like a lot of other records that had that were still, if you look for it and you know what to look for, it was still educating the audience without being corny. And I think that that's something that I don't know. I don't like saying things like this, but I'm just gonna say a lot more Asian American artists can know how to strike that balance, that being defiant and proud and loud about Asian American identity doesn't mean you have to make, you know what I'm saying, Dim Sum the song. It doesn't mean you got to make like, you know, like I think that AJ Raphael gave us a song on the album about Larry Itliong, but it sounds amazing. Largely due, obviously AJ's a great singer and great writer, and Alan came alongside him and vocal produced it into this like dark R&B, almost weekendy kind of track. And I think that that's one of the things I'm proudest about this record, and you'll hear it on Foreigner, is that we're touching on these deep, nuanced issues, but drawing strength and interest from that, rather than thinking, okay, you know, we've gained all this cool momentum by putting out pop records, by putting out Spotify records, and now we can finally do one that's just educational. Like, it's really got to be both at once.
Yeah, the way I would explain it is like no matter what the record is, no matter how deep or heavy it is, it has to still sound like a hit record. So like that's the reason, like when we went into write like these records, we had to make sure musically it sounded good. It didn't have to, like, I mean, obviously the content had to be there, but so did the sonic level, right? So even with Foreigner, when I was singing and writing the hook and writing the bridge for it, I wanted it to be like, even though this was heavy content, I wanted you to be able to sing along to it. So when I presented it to Jason, he was like, "Oh, this is good." I knew like we had something, because it wasn't just the words. It was just like when I don't want to ruin it. When you play it, you'll hear what I mean. But like it had to really resonate with you, like on a sonic level, besides just like the words, And I think that's so important when it comes to like creating something that has meaning. Is like it's got to sound good to at the very least.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, Simon, let's go ahead and play Foreigner.
When you look at me, what do you see? I can guarantee we not so different. Citizen, though you may not believe, cause you look at us like we just immigrants in the so-called land of the free. Ain't no 40 acres with no picket fence. Citizen, though you may not believe, why you look at us like we just immigrants? Everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner. Everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner.
Sing a song of frozen waves and napalm flames, yeah, yeah. 50 years a neighbor still ain't learned her name, yeah, yeah. Live in New York, but they cut him on the train. You know that ID card don't cut it when your face is held to blame. Like Nakayama wasn't training for the army. Sergeant pointed at our brother, that's the face that you should target. That's the 60s, ancient change, just a function of the culture. They love us, we a model, and they treat us like a problem, just they pawns. I had to get this off my chest. For our kings, for our queens, all the nights they bled. Red as the American flag, we earned our stripes, I guess. But till I'm blue in the face, I still ain't white, I guess. Microaggressive, yeah, that's how we get this, yeah. Kevin Nadal proved it and fit traumatic stresses, yeah. Foreign in our own nation, 9/11, 4 days went by. Balbia Singh Sodi murdered at his gas station, ayy.
Everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner. Everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner.
We came a long way from being immigrants, alien, foreign, but they don't see us as real citizens. Sway in the morning, tourists the best, intrude is the worst. The way they perceive us, portrayed us on TV as weak, made us hate our own features. Anti-Asian propaganda on the back of pamphlets. Either with a foreigner or spy next door like Jackie Chan flicks. Model minority, that myth was fueled to have us gaslit, was also used to justify this country's anti-blackness. Victims of Orientalism, whether you're born into the system or migrated, stuck with the perpetual foreign Asian syndrome. They're like, where you from? Not like where you really from. Which one of your relatives did we go to war with in 1951? As a test of loyalty, they want us to diss our people for claps, but I'd rather take a knee to that than pledge allegiance, no cap. Anything that happens at Asia, they pointed us even though we live here. Been treating us like an illness way before COVID appeared. I'm saying
everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner. Everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner. Everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner. Everybody want a foreign, but nobody wanna be a foreigner. Foreigner.
Yeah. I was listening to the song earlier and I heard Alan's no cap line, the Kaepernick line. And I was like, oh! Yeah. I love it when there's just like, just like lines you catch and you're like at the right moment. It's great. It's a great track. Great track. Yeah, thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much, Jay. And you two are both, I know you both have performances to like really, really soon. So you're not going to be a part of the conversation afterwards, but I please go out and support their music. Go check out Face Value. Go check out Surrija. Go vote the albums. And I'm sure this album, Face Value is going to get nominated for plenty of awards too. It's going to be hot. So yeah, check out the link that's in the chat and yeah, enjoy it. Alan, are you gonna be able to hang out for a little bit for the Q&A later?
Yeah, I have a engagement around like 10 my time, 10 Eastern.
Oh, okay.
I leave like a little bit. But
Cool.
just for a little bit, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So for anybody who's watching, the audience here, we want to definitely save time later for any questions. And also, I do want to hear from, people who are attending this, if you have your own songwriting, song recording experience, because that's part of the conversation I would love to hear about. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Next up, Darro. Where are you? There you are.
I'm here.
What is up? Is Tyler with you?
No, he's I don't know where he is. He's been working like 14-hour days.
Okay, Tyler is Darro's bassist and collaborator.
Yeah.
Actually, I do want to say earlier, one thing that I really enjoy about this is something that Bao actually kind of turned me onto. Bao has a project where he released his album recently, and then he had an entire YouTube series of him listening to his own songs back.
Oh yeah.
And I actually watched that whole thing. There was one point you got really emotional, and I got emotional because I saw you got emotional from it. So I'm actually watching the musicians listen to their own songs back. Sorry for the voyeurism, but it's actually like kind of exciting to know that we're hearing the music with you and experience it with you. And if there's anything that I see reaction from you, like it adds me to it too. So yeah. Anyways, Darro, tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, so ethnicity-wise, I am Cambodian American, or rather, my parents came from Cambodia. But I'm born in PA, Pennsylvania, and I do emo pop punk music, which is quite rare, I think, in the Asian community, if not at all. Just like I might be the only one. I haven't really met anyone else yet. And so if you find anyone, just like please send them my way, so I can like collaborate with them. But yeah, and so I've been like playing / practicing / studying music for like 10-12 years now. And I went to school for music, and I think part of the struggle that I've been having, especially with the health issues. So the big headline thing about my career / journey is that like in 2017, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it came out of nowhere. Like I had no idea, like you know what I mean? Like there was like no real like sign that it was happening. And this was like 3 days after I graduated from Berkeley. Just as I was like, I was about to, I was like, oh, like I'm finished school. I'm gonna move to New York City, and I'm gonna start a band, and I'm gonna start touring and playing shows and stuff. And then like literally 3 days after I graduated, it's like, nah, you got to get brain surgery, bro. You can't. So that kind of sucked for a while. It set me back a lot. And I couldn't like sit in bed because like after like 2 or 3 months of, recovery or whatever, like I just couldn't sit still. Like I had already like had this like grand scheme in play. And so like I was like, fuck it. So I just like moved to New York way before I should have. Like I was not, like my body was not ready for this place. So like the surgery like screwed up my hormones were like through the roof or whatever. Because the tumor was on my pituitary gland, which is like the part of your brain that regulates all of your hormones and stuff. And so when I moved here, like I wasn't even properly medicated like after the surgery, because I still like it was still too soon for me to actually understand like what effects like what my body was going through after the surgery. And so like one of the things was like there's I don't even know what the hormone is called, honestly, but like there's like a regulating hormone that like regulates the amount of salt in your body, which is really important for controlling your bladder and also retaining like water in your body. And mine just wasn't working like after the surgery. So like I kid you not, like I would drink a glass of water and like 45 seconds later I'd have to pee. Like it would just bypass my entire, I'm not even kidding. It would just bypass every part of my body and just go straight out. And it was like that for a good solid like month and a half or 2 months. And it did gradually get better and better to the point where like I could maybe hold it for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or so. And I just like, I didn't know that that was a problem. I just like, I was like, is this just my life now? So when I when I moved here, like I had all these like part-time jobs and stuff because like I was grinding. And one of my jobs was like I was teaching music production in like, you know, like schools and stuff. And like I'd have to take a train to a different school like every single day of the week, like 5 days a week. And like literally on Monday, I would be in Brooklyn. I'd be in Brownsville, which is like a really, really rough spot in Brooklyn. And then like Tuesday, I'd have to be up in the Bronx. Right. And so like my first, it is diabetes insipidus, whoever said that. That's exactly what it was, even though I didn't know what it was at the time. And so I remember this is like my first couple of weeks here in New York, and I didn't know my way around anywhere. Like I didn't know the subway lines or anything. And so I would have to like schedule stops like in like my commutes between like different jobs to like get off of the subway and find a place to go pee and then get back on the subway to like go back to like wherever I was going, my destination. Man, that was a nightmare. And like the classes were like an hour long. And so like I was straight up having anxiety about like not being able to like make it the entire way through a class without having to pee. It was like ridiculous. So that it was a struggle. It was a struggle. And then like eventually, like after seeing 3 or 4 doctors, I was finally like properly medicated and stuff. And like, dude, if you don't feel really well and if you've been chronically not feeling well for a long time, get your hormones checked, because I didn't realize that like humans are supposed to like not be suffering all that like much. And then like once you're properly medicated, you're like, dang, that's how people are supposed to feel. Cause like you don't know, like you don't like, you only have your own perspective. So you don't really know whether or not what you're feeling is quote unquote normal, you know? And like when I was properly medicated, and I'm on like 5 or 6 different medications, but like once I was properly medicated, I was like, wow, I can wake up and I can get out of bed and have energy. And like I can like, you know, I can like go up and down stairs and like, you know, just like all these really weird things that you wouldn't expect to be a struggle that were. And I was like, wow, I can like I can perform now, I can practice and I can sing again. And like I can start playing gigs, and then I started writing music again. And so like that's when all this stuff started happening.
And you wrote an album, I mean, Songs of Recovery from 2020. That is an album where you actually talk about, I mean, the songs were inspired by the health problems you were dealing with. And you've told me this separately, where it's like you've had to relearn how to sing again. You have to relearn all of these. Please, if you guys, there's I think there's like a Billboard article about your story online, and there's podcasts out there. Please check out Darro's story, because there's just so much like perseverance here.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. And you made it through it. And so this is the newest song that you're releasing, right? So this is not even from the album. It's actually a brand new recording that you just recorded. Were you here in Portland?
Yeah, I was. So the song was called Signing Out, and I actually wrote it. It was supposed to be a part of my last album. It was supposed to be a part of Songs of Recovery, specifically because the theme of it is like it's still dealing with the tumor, and like the song itself deals with the night that I was in the ER when I found out that I had a tumor. So like it was like one of those things where like I vividly remember all the moments, like all the story beats of that night, but I wasn't able to like articulate it into a song, you know? And when it comes to things that traumatic for me, it's like, it's hard for me to just like make it that visceral without just like making it humorous, or like not even humorous, because humorous isn't the right word, but like satirical, I guess, in a way, or like tongue in cheek. And so like I wrote that song and I wanted it to be on Songs of Recovery, but it just hit me different. Like it was like one of those songs that I wrote and I was like, damn, I can't self-produce this one. I was like, I need someone else to do it, because like it was a good song. I think it was too good for my own production skills. And it was like one of the first times where I was able to just like swallow my ego and be like, Darro, you're not good enough to produce this song. You got to get someone else to do it. And so, yeah, I went to Portland to work with Chris Crummett, who is like a producer for like a lot of post-hardcore and pop punk bands. So he's done like bands like Dance Gavin Dance and Sleeping with Sirens and Crown the Empire, you know, like a lot of like bands in that alternative genre. And I hit him up, like I emailed him out of the blue. And I had no idea that he was like, I never expected him to actually respond to me. And like, I sent him a demo and he was like, oh, this sounds good. Like, let's do it. I was like, shit. So then, we get there, like Tyler and I, we get on a plane and we fly to Portland to get the song produced. And I like after or midway through the session, I asked him, I was like, man, this is like awesome. Because I thought that because of COVID happened, I thought that like businesses were taking a hit. But he was like, no, like I have been swamped ever since COVID because like they can't perform. So all they can do is just come to the studio and record. And so like he was completely swamped. And I was like, how many like new clients do you take on? Or like, and he was like, typically I don't take on any new clients unless it's through word of mouth. And then he was like, but you're like the only person I took on that was like a brand new client. I was like, ooh. So that was really validating. It was a really validating experience. So yeah, it was fun.
It's like a running theme too. So with Jane and Matt Chamberlain, and then like what Alan and Jason talking about reaching out to people, and you just call somebody up that you admired, you want to work with them. So for anybody else, like it's really, I know Simon is amazing at this too, where he literally will find people to collaborate with that I'm like, there's no way this person would ever even pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And they're already friends somehow. So it's awesome. I definitely want to share the song right now. I do actually want to mention, because you mentioned earlier about Cambodian musicians, we're searching for other people and collaborators. Eric is here, Eric Hung from the Music of Asian America Research Center, and I technically help out with this project called Dokkabei, which is the documented Asian American music ensembles, community music ensembles.
Oh,
and we have some lists, man, and eventually it'll become more public, will be part of a presentation, but there are a lot of musicians that we don't see. Like we don't see in regular. So there's Eric. So please reach out to Eric, reach out to me, and if you want to like go through the list and look for other Cambodian artists, I'm pretty sure there's at least a few that we can connect.
That's more than what I initially thought.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's just it's really not in the public view, and a lot of musicians are really regional. So there's Eric's email. Thanks, Eric.
Do you mind if I say some things? Yeah.
Go for it.
Also, if you, so right now we're working with Bo Chan Hui. I don't know if that name means anything to you, but she knows a bunch of people in the older generation who sort of wrote original music in the late 80s, 90s. And we are trying to contact them because, this music is in like, suitcases and trunks and whatever. So if you know older generation Cambodian Americans, like family members or things that they might have written music, we are also very interested in that right now. So
I will check.
Okay.
I mean, my dad's like a musician, but he, as far as I know, he's only ever played cover songs because like they played in a wedding band. So I'll ask him.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, or even if he has tapes of like his playing the early years in the U.S.
I'll
look for it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure every one of us has been a cover musician at some point. That's and it's
like a rite of passage.
Yeah, it is, and it's just totally. All right, cool. Let's check out Darro's song. Signing out.
Oh, we're playing the video. Oh, okay.
Could you see my face? Every color washed out like a luminous drain, and my eyes blacked out with a lump in my throat and a knot in my head. I don't want to misquote, but I think I'm dead. Ooh. I guess I should explain the situation that I'm in. Inside my brain's a bunch of shit I don't think should exist. Am I insane or do these people not know what it is? I think it's time I shut my eyes and try to say goodnight. I don't know if it ends here. I hope I wind up somewhere. Just say goodbye in the prayer. Fucking up and my heart is drumming. I'll suffocate, I need air, but I can't get none in here. It's just my luck, cause I swear time is out here. I'm signing out here. Mother's muted cry in a nurse's hand. calm her down, cause you know I can't. I think I'm out of touch, so I text goodbye, but then I think it's too much, yet they reply good night. I guess it's time to stop this whining, cause I can't control these circumstances and the chance that I might have a soul. You always think that you're a better person than you've been. This time I'll know what you want, man, when you reap what you sow. I don't know if it ends here, I hope I wind up somewhere. Just say goodbye in a prayer. Walking up and my heart is drumming. I'll suffocate, I need air, but I can't get none in here. It's just my luck, cause I swear time is out here. I'm signing out here, and I cannot take another breathless day. And I cannot take if I was held a day without I don't know if it ends here, I hope I wind up somewhere. Just say goodbye in a prayer. Walking up and my heart is drumming. I'll suffocate, I need air, but I can't get none in here. It's just my luck, cause I swear time is out here. I'm signing out here. I don't know if it ends here, I hope I wind up somewhere. Just say goodbye in a prayer. Walking up and my heart is drumming. I'll suffocate, I need air, but I can't get none in here. It's just my luck, cause I swear time is out here. I'm signing out here.
Yeah. Remember the first time I heard that, the guitars and the drums are so huge sounding, man. So good.
Yeah, Chris, man, he knocked it out of the park with this one. I'm so glad that I didn't do this myself.
I mean, check out Saul's Recovery. That was your productions. You record. I remember that you were talking about like that one. You actually had to go record the drums. Everything was you on that one.
Yeah.
And it sounds incredible. It's still you. What you've done by yourself is still great. For any bedroom music producers here, you can definitely do it on your own. But there's something to learn from like a person with a studio and a professional who's been doing this for years.
It's a different environment. It's a different environment. It's just like they take so much weight off your shoulders. You can just focus on one thing. Oh, by the way, that music video isn't even out yet. So it doesn't drop for 2 weeks. So you guys got a sneak peek. I think you're the first people like outside of my like team to have seen that. So thanks for the early feedback.
If I may, to Eric and Darro, so I work on this show called Cambodian Rock Band, and it was supposed to go to Portland actually right when COVID hit, and so we never made it. But I do have some connections to a lot of Cambodian community, both in Long Beach and in the Northwest, and so I would love to share these contacts with you guys, and you guys can spread your wings and do all the things.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even like, of course, why not?
Great. And
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm so excited to learn about your music, Darro, and your journey. It's mind-blowing to me. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Alan, Jane, or Darro? No worries, we can do more chatting later after this. But that was hype. It was great. Thank you, Darro. Okay, so next up is Dean from Be Mine Phantom Valentine. How's it going, Dean? Oh, I think you're still muted.
I'm doing good. How are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Congrats on also being nominated for the album award at the San Diego Music. Are you two in competition with each other?
No, thank goodness no.
Okay, so now everybody go vote for Dean. And
You can vote for us both on the same page. So yeah, our album is in the indie alternative album, best album. So
right.
we're excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about it and meet some new faces.
Well, right on. Well, can you tell us a little something about Be My Phantom Valentine, the band, your band?
Yeah. So the main members are myself and my twin brother, who couldn't be here, is also one of the songwriters, and we have been just playing music ever since we've been younger. It's always been like a hobby of ours. Um, and so we formed in 2016, and we're in San Diego. So so basically, we grew up in my family's from Hawaii, and their parents were from the Philippines. So we really had like a musical family. There was like ukuleles in every room, in the car, and so we just we were in a musical family. And then when we were like teenagers, we started to get I started to get into the guitar and more of the indie alternative rock. And my brother, since he's my twin, kind of went in the opposite direction, or not maybe the opposite, but really got into musical like piano. So he has a lot of background in like Chopin. He studied a lot of Beethoven, and I kind of went more into like the new wave. A lot of stuff interested me from the new wave and the indie rock. And then in 2016, we formed a band, and it's called Be Mine Phantom Valentine. And he and I are the writers and the collaborators. But we also have a live drummer that we work with as well.
So do you both write and sing? Do you share vocal duties?
We do share vocal duties. We do. We take turns. We both have, because we're twins, we're identical. We have similar tendencies or like predispositions or genetic capabilities with regards to music. So we do harmonize. He's just a little better than I am at the piano, or maybe a lot better. I'll be honest, he's not here. He's a lot better at the piano, and I spend a lot more time playing guitar. That was kind of like our way of being different from each other and trying to break like this. I'm doing my own thing. He's doing his own thing. So he would be in the piano, and I would go in the garage and plug in, and that was our way of being different. But yeah, we do share songwriting. We share vocals. I play most of the lead stuff, but we do collaborate a lot, and we also bump heads a lot. Sometimes we have differences, and we have to kind of take turns. We've kind of learned how to navigate the dance of like, you're let's keep this positive. We found out that if you keep things positive, you get more creativity done.
I like how you paid him a compliment because he wasn't there. That was pretty good. And one of my favorite groups is Tegan and Sarah, and there's just something about twins having sort of that mind meld. Even though if they hate each other and they're living on opposite side of the coast, there's something about the ability of twins to mind meld for the music. Not a telepath. There's nothing that doesn't exist, but maybe it does exist.
We don't hate each other yet. We still get along. He actually lives he lives maybe 30 minutes away from me.
Right on.
We talk regularly. He collaborated, and I talked to him a lot about the album. So we are really excited that it got nominated. It seems to be getting like it's been getting a good response in San Diego.
So how did you write this album? Like, how did this album come about?
So this album, End State, it really was about an inner journey. It was a time when everything, we all had experienced the shutdown, but it was really about like everything got canceled. The traveling got canceled, and it was about an inner journey. It's interesting because we started to record this album as a band, and we had a lot of live stuff set up, and a lot of the members, some of them were at risk, so we all had to kind of shut down. And I kind of gave myself the permission to say, this is the time to just you need to convert your garage into a studio. Like, just you have no excuse now. You have to do what you've always wanted to do, and I've always liked albums. I've always been into albums, and I thought this is the time to do it. Plug in. You have no excuses. Let's do this. So it was really about taking an inner journey and just the feelings of 2020, and just kind of like living that and trying to create that, and also fulfill a dream of having an album. So it ended up not being we didn't have all the band members at the house recording. It ended up being a lot of it. The songs that are on it were generated from what initiated from myself. So I got to make a lot of the decisions on the songs where, if there's a lot of people involved, sometimes it takes time and you have to collaborate, which is great. But this one was just really about an inner journey, and my brother Wes helped me along the way.
Since this is the first, I guess, the home studio setup, what was your sort of recording setup at home in your home studio?
So it's funny that you asked that because I right before we started recording this, I met my son's friend's father who actually was an engineer who would set up home recordings for some hip hop artists in Florida and LA. So I just happened to run into him picking up my son. I saw like these records and gold records on the wall, and he said, yeah, he used to. A lot of hip hop artists used to rent houses in LA, and they would convert it, into a place to hang out and kind of get into the art or whatever it needs to happen. And so he totally told me how to do it. So really, there was a lot of mattresses on the wall. There was mattresses. There were drapes. It did not look like your typical studio setup. But I do have like the interfaces. I'm familiar with a lot of the software. I had all the instruments. Like I play guitar, I play bass, and then I have synthesizers. I've always been a fan of like synthesizers. A lot of bands from the '80s or like Depeche Mode and things like that. I've always been into that. So it was really just setting up, buckling down, and timing it so that the water heater wasn't going off,
Anyone with a garage studio knows exactly what that's like, because no amount of density of mattresses will block a water heater sound. Simon asked, "What's your? Do you have a favorite piece of gear?"
Piece of gear, like as far as recording equipment, or
Yeah, if you have a favorite, like type of microphone you're enjoying using, or something that you really gravitated towards in the studio.
What I used? A lot of the stuff I have is really basic. But I did use the Rhodes a lot. I used a Rhodes, a condenser mic. I think it's like the NTK1 that was used a lot. It was kind of more like a go-to what I have. I mean, when we talk about indie, it really was indie. It was a do-it-yourself kind of thing. So that was available. But if anything, it was really what I found helped was really just learning how to like cut out the reverb in the room. So I didn't get a lot of those sounds, really controlling the environment in the room.
Cool.
But I like Fender guitars. I use a lot of Fender guitars. I use the Jaguar, Johnny Marr Jaguar. He's somebody I always listened to growing up. My older brother used to collect Smith's records, and so I used to listen to a lot of that on CDs and stuff growing up. And I learned a lot of guitar listening to the Smiths. And
Right
I don't
on.
know, that's a different genre. It probably might be a different genre, but in like the guitar, in the alternative music and indie, it's a pretty cool. He's a really innovative, pretty like iconic in that genre.
Darro knows all about Fender. So the song is called "Never Dream." Was that your song or is that your brother's, or did you guys both kind of split it?
That one's primarily I wrote, but Wes did support how we wrote it. So I'm a big fan of like getting creative, being ready for whenever you're inspired, being ready for when it comes. And I find that there's no hard rules to songwriting. The more I talk to people who are in this business, they keep telling me there's no hard rules, but I do listen to a lot of the greats. I do try to, try to listen to some older stuff as well. But I Never Dream, this one was interesting, and I kind of selected this one because it was unique how I wrote it. I've always wanted to pick a song where the progression was simple, but it may have repetitive, but sonically it sounded different by the way it was done. So let's say I had a similar progression for the verse, the chorus, but I wanted to have the lyrics different enough where I always found songs appealing when they could have the same progression the whole way, but it sounds like there's three different parts. But sonically and lyrically, I wanted to challenge myself. But going back to that creative thing, the chorus of the song, being ready for anything, I like to journal in my dreams, and I like to try to remember things from my dreams. So the chorus is from dreams, is like things that I pulled together from dreams. The verse part of it, my brother's jamming, and I'm really trying to create like a theme. And in this verse, it was a time when uh, screens and social media, false media was really affecting, and it probably still is, like the psyche of the nation in 2020. So I really try to get into that feeling that the screens were not helping us. The social media was really taking the psyche down into a dark place. And so my brother would jam that out, and I kind of created the lyric part. And then I went on a limb and tried to create like something that could create like this anger, that we were feeling before the election. Like that feeling of anger and everything, a lot of our society was feeling. So I went ahead and just tried to improvise like a rap section, which was new to me. So it kind of had an element of improv for like the middle 8 section. And then the chorus was a hammering out of like really trying to tap into something. And then the chorus, which it actually starts off with right after the intro, is more of like a dream, like a Salvador Dali, kind of like a surrealism thing, where I kind of like took some of the stuff from my dream state and tried to, make it sound like it was rational. So I'm a fan of like being ready for inspiration. I think art is like that, and there's no hard rules. That's how I feel.
Nice. All right, let's give it a listen. We'll add this.
Looking for a manic patrol. Look inside, look into the fall, look into the field for the effort to face. You can see it. He's standing clear with the knife at the scarecrow's beard. Look into the fall, just ready to go. Listen to your heart radio. Video dancing and video circuits are broken, casting shadows onto the screens until we fall like dominoes. Video surfing on video waves that are crashing in, lost without air and feeling despair until you hear the call.
Yeah, right on.
Thanks.
What was it? Was it all Fenders on that one?
Yeah, I use the Jaguar, the Johnny Marr
Nice.
Jaguar, and
Yeah, it
yeah, it has
has a little bit of the just like the wash that not I guess shoegazy, but originally I was hearing it as Psyche. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh, it's Kevin Parker. It's like a little bit like Tame Impala, but has like 80s, 90s feels to it too.
the interesting thing about it is when the person that I collaborated with is he's Johnny Marr's guitar player, and he mixed all the songs. So he may have made it sound more similar to what they're used to because he used some of their stuff in their mixing, some of their mixing tools, which probably made it sound more like a Fender.
I swear, everybody's working with heroes, like people. Like, this is amazing. Did you reach out to him, or did you already know the person before?
I did reach out to him. I met him and Johnny Marr in L.A. And then when they came down to San Diego, I met him again. But when I finished recording this, I just reached out to him, and he's like, he was like, I'm really busy. I'm in the studio with Johnny Marr. We're recording our 4th album. He's like, but I think it's just being nice. He's like, just send me like 2 songs, and if I have time, I'll listen to it. If it's something that I can get into, I'll think about it. And then he said, as soon as I sent him the songs, by the next day he was like, okay, here's my number. Can we talk on Friday? So I think he liked it. So he ended up making time, and he mixed the whole album, which I'm totally excited about. It made the whole experience way more exciting. So.
Congrats, dude. And yes, you can vote for Be My Valentine Best Indie Album at the San Diego Music Awards. Links in the chat. Please go vote. Thanks, Dean.
Thanks.
All right. Marlon of Marlon and the Shakes. How's it going?
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. What's going on, y'all? Good to, man. This is so awesome. So thank you, Slants, for putting this together. I'm really just sort of I'm really inspired by all the art, right, that's being made by my Asian brothers and sisters, and I'm really just even more turned on by their ability to get in touch with their emotions and then turn that into dope art, right? So I love learning from all of you, and I really just can't wait to see this community continue to grow. So thank you for giving us yet another platform where we can, express ourselves and show off what we've been doing.
Thank you for being here, man. Thank you all for being here. And yes, Simon, please, I want more of these. Next one I just want to watch, but I really want to just hear more musicians share incredible work. So Marlon the Shakes, clearly your band. You're the front man of the band.
Yeah.
How long has this project been around for?
So the Shakes have been around for a couple of years, right? I've been on the Chicago music scene for a minute, just kind of starting as a solo artist, playing around in cafes. And then I started a rock group called Soulfix. And it was, it's sort of like heavy melodic rock, right around the late 90s. And, when I think back to that time, it was really strange being an Asian frontman of a rock band in that era, because, I would get, sort of I never thought you would play rock music, or you don't look like you sound, that sort of a thing. That was really common back then, especially when you're playing music that's typically played by white guys and girls, right? So, but I loved it because I wanted to take that Asian pride torch and carry it right into the lion's den, right? And just kind of just show everybody that, yeah, even a brown guy, even an Asian guy can rock out too. But long story short is, it started way back then with the solo project and Soulfix, and then many versions later of me. Here we are now, Marlon and the Shakes, and like I said, it's been around for a couple of years. But this current project that we're working on, we just started at the beginning of this year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and your project, you're the creative behind it, the songwriter and everything.
Yeah. So, you know, when I think about, yeah. So 100%, I am the songwriter. I'm sort of the creative force behind it, but there's a lot of collaborative efforts that happen, right? And I'm hearing a lot of that today, even that a lot of us are just finding ways to just kind of reach out to other people, right? And just say, hey, this is something I'm working on. If you have the time, I would love for you to just, bless it with your talent. And so, yeah, I've been very fortunate because, yes, even though I am the sort of the creative force behind it, it's been really dope to kind of collaborate with some of these folks. A lot of just amazing Chicago musicians. But the core of our band, there's three of us. There's myself on the guitar and I sing. And then there's a bassist, my songwriting partner, Adrian Morris. And then our drummer, when we have the opportunity to put in live drums, CJ Tucker, who, these two other guys, they kind of came up in the gospel scene in the Chicago area. And again, just amazing musicians, and are able to sort of, be musical chameleons. And that's sort of what this project is, right? So the name of the project, folks, is called 12 and 12. And the idea behind it is to write, record, and release one song a month for an entire year. Yeah, and it's tiring. It's exciting, but it's tiring, just because you have to go from one idea to the next. And really the spirit behind this is just put down whatever idea we have, regardless of the genre of music that it is, and just put it out there, right? So, this year we've released a rock song, sort of a funk pop song, an EDM song, an R&B pop tune. This month is going to be a blues tune. We'll be releasing that in probably another week or so. But really, nothing is off limits, and that's the idea behind this project, is to just write whatever's on our heads and record it.
So, how does the what's in your head make it from your head to the band situation, and how do you pick the song for the month?
Yeah, so that's hard, right? Because I know a lot of us as musicians, we probably have if we were to pull up our voice notes, you would see a shitload of just ideas that just never made it, to whatever you're using, whatever DAW you're using, right? So, and that's what it was for me. And it's funny because, this all just kind of started because I was part of a songwriting accountability group, right, with a bunch of musicians from the Chicago area. And really the idea was the moderator would come up with a phrase and we'd have to write a song around that phrase. And we could either use the exact phrase or refer to that phrase somehow within the lyrics of the song. So the phrase, at least for the song that y'all are playing today, is the phrase was, "I have pictures like that." And I thought it was strange. It's such an awkward lyric. So I couldn't write exactly that, but I wrote to that. In this particular case, I was working with this sort of staccato strings riff, right, that I came up with while messing around in Logic, and my melody idea kind of came from wanting to fill in the space in between the string notes, right? So, I mean, when you hear it, it's like bop, 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 and then I just wanted this space to be filled with lyrics, and that's sort of how it started. So I joined this accountability group. And I just wrote like a verse and a chorus, and I submitted it to the group, and everyone's like, "Yay, great job," And then I put it away, like a dumb musician does sometimes. We just like, when you have a great idea, sometimes you just put it away because you have so many ideas. Sorry, I don't mean to say dumb musician, but I was dumb because I felt like we had something, but I just wanted to move on to the next thing. And that's why having people to collaborate with is so important, right? Because they do hold you accountable when you write something that connects with them. And so my buddy Adrian, my bassist, he said, "Yo, let's work on that a little bit," right? I mean, we had moved on to like 3 or 4 other types of songs, and he said, "No, let's flesh it out a little bit." So you know, we did that. We sort of came up with a form, a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus and some sort of a middle part. And then I just laid down this guitar solo in it. And then I'm like, shit, I don't know what to do with this at this point. So we sent it off to another friend. His name is Isaiah Obi. And Obi is just, you know, just another dope musician and a producer. And he just kind of, you know, he laid his magic on it, spiced it up a little bit, threw in some synth tones, some different drum sounds. And then when I got it back, I really felt like the song, you know, kind of took form. So, I mean, that was the process for this particular song. And that's just kind of how it goes in general. Like I'll come up with an idea. Adrian will listen to it. He'll throw in his spice. You know, if we feel like one of our other friends can, you know, sprinkle a little something on there, then they do it. And, you know, the songs become the songs that they are. So it's been a fun run. But as I think of it now, it's like, shit, I've got many more months to go till the end of the year. So the pressure's on, but I'm up for the challenge.
And everything's going to come together as an album, please?
Yes. Yeah. So it'll culminate to an album that we'll call 12 and 12. So, you know, anything that you see, if you look at Marlon and Shakes, you'll see a bunch of singles with white, you know, sort of white backgrounds. Those are our singles that we're releasing on a monthly basis. But it's been fun, man. I love it. I love collaborating with people. So any of you musicians out there too, if you guys want to collaborate with me, I'm a phone call, an email, a text, smoke signal, whatever. I'm down for whatever y'all have.
Right on. Yeah, dude, leave your contact in the chat if Simon doesn't already have it there.
For sure.
And let's listen to Scrollin'. This is a fun song, man. Let's listen to it.
Dig it. Thank you.
To
but the memory goes through. It's running me in a loop, yeah. Scrolling through my phone's got me feeling alone. I can't move on.
I saw the air drumming earlier. Every song needs to have like a fill like that in the middle of it. That was perfect.
It's so funny. We wanted a Phil Collins moment in that song, and that was my buddy Adrian, man. He said, yo, we need something that's going to be huge and that'll just kind of bring us into that second verse. So thank God for collaborators. Thank you.
That's the theme. That's the theme of the day, for sure.
For sure.
Collaborators. All right. Thank you, man. Next
Thank you,
up
man.
is Dan Lee. I LOL'd at the music video that I saw of yours, this video that we're going to be sharing. It's amazing, hilarious, and the cameo, or I guess the star of the show, it's gonna be fun to watch. So Dan, so you're part of a project called Scrabbel?
Yeah, that was actually like an indie pop band from the late 1990s, like early 2000s. It was just me and my high school friend, and then we lasted for one album, broke up, and I was gonna put the second album out, and I just kept the name and I never changed it. So it's really just me and whoever I end up working with for whatever album I'm doing.
So the musicians that are in the band now is just all new musicians from that era. And
Yeah, well, so this particular, the song that you're gonna play, so I used to tour and do that whole thing, and I love it, and I wish it was self-sustaining, that I could do it forever, but it just wasn't realistic for me. So I went a different route, and then what I found over the last couple of years is applying for arts grants. So this is my second grant that I got for this particular project, but I applied for an art grant, and I got a grant from the San Francisco Arts Commission. I live in San Francisco, and so that project was to take an aspect of Korean culture and write music about it, and at the same time, incorporating some Korean instruments as well. So that's what this project is, and it's just the musicians that I used were purely just for this project. We're not a band, and actually because of doing this project this year, a couple of the guys I haven't even met in person. We just emailed the tracks, and they put on what they did and sent it back to me.
So how was the song composed in this case?
The song was composed by me. I just had I had a bass line basically, and with that, I don't know about everyone else, but for me, when I get excited or inspired by a song, almost all of it comes at once. Not every little detail, but if I have a bass line or a guitar part, the drum beat comes. It's just inherent with the rhythm. And all these other kind of changes and things just sort of come to me, and so that song just wrote itself. And I don't know, that's just how I tend to work. It's kind of hard to collaborate with other people, but in this case, I just had like a really bare bones song, and I let everyone else put in what they wanted to put in, and it turned out great. I really loved it. It was really fun.
So it's more like a jam almost. It's kind of like
It is.
Jam by remote.
Totally. I tried to make it sound like as if we were all in the same room just playing. And I should explain. So the project for this was to do something with Korean culture and incorporate those instruments into this song. So the subject I chose was Dokkabei, and those are little goblins in Korean folklore. And so Dokkabei are these kind of creatures that they're kind of like they judge you. So they watch you, and if you're a good person, they'll reward you with riches or just help you. But if you're an asshole, then they'll come in and just thwart your plans and crush you, basically punish you. So I was looking at different aspects of Dokkabei, and this particular song is about their mischievous side. So they're also playful. So they don't necessarily always just want to do karmic justice to everybody. They also just want to hang out on their own and drink beer and hang out and play. So that was this song. So I tried to make it where, you know, a bunch of Dokkabei were just hanging out and jamming, trading solos. And so that's what this song's about. And I worked with Kutso, who I think you guys did something with recently. He did a collaboration with Lyrics Born. And
Whoa.
yeah, so I got in touch with him, and, you know, because the song, when I wrote it, I was like, this needs some turntable work on it. And I asked a friend of mine, you know, if he knew anyone, and he put me in touch with Kutso, and he was perfect. Like, I sent him the track. I said, this is it. Like, you know, have these sections if you want to do some scratching on it. And he's, you know, he probably knocked it out in like 2 hours. It was so good. And so yeah, he was great. The guy who plays Changu, which is a Korean drum, he teaches it at University of Maryland on the East Coast. So he was someone I just found on YouTube. I was like scrolling through videos of Korean drums, and I found him. I thought his performance was amazing. So I wrote to him and I said, hey, I've got this project. I'm trying to incorporate Korean drums in, you know, a rock setting. And I asked him if he wanted to, you know, record himself doing it. And so me and the drummer recorded our part, and then I sent him the track, and he put his drums, he put the Changu, it's a Korean drum, on that. And then Kutso did the scratching, and another friend of mine played the horns. And then the video, so it debuted last night at CamFest, which is the film festival. Oh, nice. Somebody knows him. Yeah, that guy is amazing. Yeah, so anyways, yeah, incredible guy, and he made the project so awesome. But so it debuted last night at CamFest, which is Asian American Film Festival here in San Francisco. And so I made a short film, basically, that kind of chronicles the different aspects of Dokkabei, and this is one of the songs from it.
All right, we should totally play the video first, because I don't want to spoil the little surprise in it. Oh, sorry.
Oh, just real quick. So yeah, in the video, I just tried to illustrate a little bit of what a Dokkabei is, and in the song, it's about, you know, being mischievous and just, you know, having fun. Dokkabei are also good at weapons, so you know, that's all I'm going to say, and then you can just watch the video.
So who was the star of that?
That's my daughter.
Nice.
Yeah, she's 6.
It was so good. There was one at the beginning when she first jumped on the drums. I really thought it was actually her playing, and then when she started scratching, I was like, "Oh, okay, all right."
Yeah. If you watch it carefully, her turntable doesn't have the actual arm on the record.
Nice.
I was like,
you don't want to wear out the needle from that.
Totally.
That was awesome. Yeah, the DJ was legit. I was like, "Oh, whoa, this guy." You know, I didn't realize it was somebody. Bay Area's got so many great DJs, scratch totally. DJs. So congrats on getting into the CamFest, because as a filmmaker, was trying to get into the CamFest for years, never have gotten into it.
Sorry.
Big deal. No, but it's a big deal, man.
Yeah, I was. It was amazing. I mean, I wish we could have had a live audience. It was like an online screening because of the way it is right now. But yeah, it was awesome. It was really fun and just a great experience.
Right on. You still get the little tag too. You get the little tag that says it played at the CamFest. So it's all worth it. Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. Does anybody have any questions? I know we're running a little late here. I also want to say that Kenneth from Alex Cade could totally do like a remix on Marlon's song too. That'd be pretty legit. I've listened to a lot of Alex Cade EDM remixes.
Let's go. I love it.
Totally.
Hello. Actually, I have a question.
Go for it, dude.
Okay, so I'm working on a song that I wrote in response to the Atlanta shootings back in, I think it was March by now, yeah, so a while ago. And you know, I'm overall pretty new to the whole music thing, like only been recording my stuff for around half a year at this point. And I've shared it with a few people. It's like still in progress, needs a lot of tracks, but like the bones of it are there, and I've shared it with some people online, either live performance or the demos, and they seem to think it's pretty powerful. But I'm just curious, like how I would go about, I guess, helping share it or, you know, promote it so that it's out there as something for people to take solace in, so to speak. Because at this point, since I'm so new to this, I don't really have anything published or any social media, anything like that. So I think it was Alan and Simon, they had another song about racism as well. So that's why I thought of that.
Hey, Andrew. So one of the things that we oftentimes will do at the Slants Foundation is feature the work of artists as well. So if you said it was still in progress, is that right? Or you?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you looking for collaborators to kind of add on to that, or do you want to kind of showcase it where it is to get feedback? What is it that you would like to do with it in terms of like your next steps?
So there's still a few tracks I need to record myself, like some guitar tracks, a bass track. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a control freak, so I record everything myself, you know, just to get the right sound and everything. But I guess in terms of like more production stuff, maybe I would want to do a music video, perhaps, and overall like how to, you know, get it out there where people, you know, can see it, instead of upload it to YouTube and, oh nice, it has 15 views, something like that, you know.
Yeah, I think partnerships are great, and it could be with, you know, somebody who's also starting out, but that's you know, your peer, or you can reach out to somebody like almost every single person we've had tonight, like every one of them has reached out to either a musical hero or just somebody that they you know, always wanted to collaborate with. And either way, it doesn't hurt to at least make that first connection. So I think that's the goal. And if you're a control freak about the song, I know exactly how that's like. I'm that person too. Maybe record it to the point where you're happy with it, and I mean as happy as you can be. Again, as a control freak, I know it's hard to even get to that point. But once you are happy with it, that's when you can share with other people that you might want to collaborate with, and then see what they have to offer or what they can suggest for you too.
Yeah, I think after that process is kind of baked and you like what you have, there's the whole process of getting it published and getting it on streaming, getting it on Bandcamp, etc. And I think that, I mean, it's fairly simple, but when you get there, maybe we can help you get that process going.
Great, I would appreciate that.
I think if anything that I'm hearing is, and what I've seen is just like reach out, don't be afraid to get it out there, because no one has a crystal ball as far as where it's going to land, but some people will find interest, and if it doesn't, you kind of learn from that. So for me, like for End State, just getting it out to like local, I've been actually finding out who the local like journalists are in the San Diego area, like that's where I'm from, and I just pitch it to them, and a lot of people want to hear a story. So if I pitch out, like for this album, I pitch the album, I tell them who I worked with and kind of what it's about, keeping it really short and putting it out there. And then some of them will bite and go, okay, send me send me the album, and then maybe I'll consider for review. And then some of them you don't get a response. It's kind of, I don't want to say this, but it's kind of like dating a little bit. You kind of you get it out there. You don't be afraid, and people, if you stand by it and you believe in it, people will hear it and they can tell there's something there. But if anything, don't be afraid. That's what I've learned. I send stuff out and I get responses, but there's also another half of it where I didn't hear anything back. But if you believe in it, just go for it and don't be afraid.
Yeah, I would second that for sure. I think when you're happy with your song and you're comfortable with it, and then you just put it out there and don't worry about other people's opinions, because if you're happy with it, that's all that counts. And, music is so subjective. There's always going to be someone who doesn't care for it. And then there's also going to be people that are really into it. It's going to connect to them. And you won't know until you put it out there, right? So I had a thing way back when YouTube used to have a front page and they would highlight stuff. So I made a video and they took it and they put it on the front page, and it racked up like 500,000 views, during that time. And it was crazy. I had to change my email address because the email just was nuts. But it was filled with like hate for Asian kind of stuff. And then it was also filled with praise. People were like, oh, this is great, And so that, like, for me, like, I don't have that thick of a skin. So I was kind of like, I'm done with that. I don't want to do that ever again. And I probably could have capitalized on it had I been more savvy, but that wasn't for me. I was happy with the song, and all the opinions that were coming in it was just kind of messing with me. And so I had to shut it down for myself, my own sanity. But I think when you get to a point where you like your song and you put it out there, it's like those opinions aren't going to matter anymore, like the negative ones, because then you realize like people like what they like, and some of the people that wrote some really hateful things, I would look them up and I'd find out, oh, this guy's a metalhead. No wonder he doesn't like my songs, or he's a 12-year-old kid who just wants to destroy everything out there because he's a troll, so that kind of stuff, like you just let it go, but someone's going to find you and say like, oh, this is great. I want to use it for my movie or come and play a show with me because I have a band that does the same thing or something like that.
That's pretty common.
Yeah.
Every weird niche thing has its counterpart somewhere in the world.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight and for listening to all these artists. And I would really encourage you to just go and support their work. If you're interested in learning more about what the Slants Foundation can do for you, you can go to theslants.org/artists. We've been so happy to work with so many different artists and a variety of projects. I mean, just this month alone, we helped launch Alan Z and Jason Chu's Face Value project, along with 15 other artists' works through our AZN X BLM project. So we're building racial coalitions, we're doing arts and activism. And in addition, we're also talking about making art and making, doing the business of your art as well. So we got all kinds of resources. And again, all these things we provide to our community for free. If you want to support our work, we encourage you can go to theslants.org, you could donate, you can share a good word, you can let people know about this. If you know of other Asian American artists who are looking for resources, please share our resources with them. That's why we are doing this. It's entirely volunteer driven. So all the money we raise goes right back to the artists. Again, thank you again for joining us tonight. And we'll hopefully catch you at the next month's Artist Think Tank session. Have a great night.